happy first Friday of 2025. I signed a check. No, I signed something yesterday, and I almost wrote 24, but it's just so weird to see 2025. But welcome everyone to Friday Coffee Hour. If you're new and haven't seen one of these before, the tomatoes are in the back. This is open forum. And open forum is, you can ask anything. And and Nelson and I will do our best to answer your questions. We'll be honest and transparent. Sometimes the answers aren't great, but we'll do the best we can. And the key is to keep you informed. And but before we get into that, a couple announcements. We're supposed to do a star today, but the person's not here. But it's from the housekeeping department. And I just want to thank all of you for your patience over the holidays. I know we had a change to the schedule last minute with cleanings. Unfortunately, some illness ran through the department, and we had a lot of people that were off. Somebody's getting a star for picking up a bunch of those shifts. We'll do that next time. But thank you for your patience, because I know a lot of you probably had plans on having housekeeping come in, and we had to delay it or move it or whatever miracle Amanda was able to work to make that happen. So thank you. Also, next coffee hour, we're changing it a little bit. It's not going to be Tracy talking about physical therapy. We have our architect coming from, his name is Patrick Mixdorf. He's coming from EGA Architects. He's going to fly in Thursday, stay the night, and he will do a presentation and show you all the pretty pictures of what we hope to build. And you can build him however you want. And he's very good. He's got a great personality, and he'll be able to answer all your questions. So look forward to that in 2 weeks. Allison?
I just wanted to start out by introducing one of our new community members that moved in right before the holiday, with Mr. George Reitmeyer. Could you wave, George? Welcome to our community. George comes from East Aurora, so we have a lot of East Aurora folks here at Fox Run, so please give him a warm welcome. We're glad you chose Fox Run.
You certainly have.
I just wanted to go over a couple events for the month. I know all the Creative Arts calendars are out, and Jackie's been doing a wonderful job in her new position, kind of bringing in some different things that we haven't had, so I just wanted to highlight some of those. Thursday, January 19th, we're going to have Buffalo Improv House here. So they're going to be in the event center, and it's an interactive comedy show. So we hope you come down. I think that'll be really fun, something different. We've never had something like that before.
It will not be Dick O'Brien and Dick Leonard.
And it'll be appropriate jokes. And then Wednesday, January 22nd at 7 p.m. we have Mike the Magician coming. He'll also be in the event center. He's also going to start during dinner, so he'll be doing some table magic in the Oak Room. So we're excited to have him. And then, as always, monthly we have the Creative Arts meeting, so that this month is going to be Friday, January 10th at 11 a.m. So we encourage you, if you have ideas, events, outings, we encourage you to attend that meeting and share your ideas with the Creative Arts team. I'm really happy to have Jackie on board in this role, and it's been great. Thank you, Jackie. Do you have any resident announcements? Yes, Nancy.
I just want to point out that the resident council meeting, the date is incorrect in the newsletter. It says January 11th, and it's January 15th.
Thank you for catching that. So the announcement was in the newsletter. The resident council date is incorrect. So the meeting will be Wednesday, January 15th at 1 o'clock. So please join us. Sue?
Spiritual Life Committee is Tuesday the 14th at 10:30 in the conference room. It's wrong in the calendar.
Okay. Did everyone hear that?
I'm sure.
Okay. Yes, Margin?
Yarn Thread will resume Wednesday, January 6th. If you're new and you haven't come, it's any kind of craft, any kind of needlework you want to do. It is for fellowship only. We meet at 3 o'clock in the Creative Arts Room, and we're tentatively going back to twice a month. That's what the people who have come have suggested they'd still like to do.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
All right, now for our our unbelievable speaker series to start the year. You have the two of us. So does anyone have any questions? Janice was first. I will repeat all the questions.
Will the architect have a slideshow?
So the question is whether the architect that's coming next coffee hour will have a slideshow. Yes, and he's we've had him prepare some renderings, and when you see a rendering, it's not going to be the everything's white with some outlines. They have a software where, like say this room, if we're going to change the carpeting and have new chairs, he knows the exact color scheme, paint colors, and it's going to make the room look like you took a picture of the room as if it's real. So it's going to be pretty close, except for the fake people he's putting in the chairs. I've seen some of them, and they're pretty cool, and it definitely gets us excited.
Good.
Mr. O'Brien.
I just want to point out that I think that all the kids we have working here in the dining room just do a great job. And obviously, if they're doing a great job, they've been trained very, very well. I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge how hard the maintenance guys work on in snow removal. And then the third thing, probably the most important thing, when I sat on Santa's lap, I think I was nice and appropriate.
So this is why Dick O'Brien is not in our comedy show. So he said three things. He said, number one, he wants to acknowledge our staff in the dining room, especially our young staff. We had a stretch coming out of COVID where we had a hard time getting dining staff, and for whatever reason, Lisa and her team were able to start bringing them in, and they created a culture, which means these kids want to come in, and they want to be the next wave, and I think they have a lot of fun being here. So that goes to all of you too, because when they see your friendly faces, they feel like they're coming. It's not just coming to serve plates, it's coming to see all of you too. So thank you right back at you. The second thing was maintenance staff and how hard they work during snowstorms. We did have a couple doozies already this year, and it's not easy to clear everything all at once. And the way the storms have worked, the snow piles up and we go into survival mode where we just need to clear paths for emergency vehicles, and then our focus is to clean all of your cars out. And I know people are anxious to get moving, but thank you for your patience for that as well. But yes, they do work very hard. And the last thing was a compliment that I'm doing a good job personally, so thank you. Yes?
I also, along that line, want to thank Aaron, because Aaron's been training those people, and he's reasonably new here, and he's done a wonderful job.
Aaron Stolinsky.
Yeah.
Yes, Aaron does a great job training our dining staff. Thank you for saying that. Which is why he was MVP last month. So yeah, he does a great job, and he relates very well to all of our servers. And you know, it's easy to be a boss and say do this, do that, but you want to make it so that they want to come to work. They don't want to be pushed around, and they want to enjoy their time here. So he does a nice job with it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I have a question here, and my question is that first a comment and not a complaint. In
Thank you.
January, we'll be getting the increase in our monthly bills. That's you know, that's part of doing business. But my question is this: as things go up and up and up, is it possible, or is there a reason that our declining balance stays the same every month?
So this is not an easy question, so I'll try to paraphrase it. First, there was a comment that your monthly service fees did go up starting January, and that's part of doing business. The other question is, why hasn't our declining balance gone up? So this is true. I'll try my best to explain the declining balance. Your food, we're required to provide a meal, and most communities give a meal. They say you can have dinner every day, and if you don't use the dinner, you lose it. We wanted to be a little more flexible, so we created this declining balance, these Fox Run dollars, so that you could use a couple dollars for dinner, a couple dollars, or have breakfast and lunch, or just to choose dinner. And the dollar amount has not gone up, but the price has been fixed. So the meal that you have, a $10 meal, really probably costs $15, right? Or it could cost, and depending on what the meal is. Sometimes it's a cheaper meal and it's $9. It's not a moneymaker, it's just, the declining balance is just a way for you to get flexibility in your meal schedule, so it's not just one meal a day. We've talked to other communities to come up with something a little different. Maybe Lisa and I have talked about, do we shift to one meal a day? We saw a community that anything goes. There are no declining balances, all food is free. Their monthly service fees are a lot higher, but even the carryover dollars, it's not real money, it's just meant to provide flexibility in the meal that you're getting. So yes, we could raise that to say $15, but then that menu price is going to go up to $15 as well. Yes, Margo.
I just want to remind people that every Monday night and Thursday night, there's an option to have dinner in the bistro instead of in the dining room. And those meals have been very good. They're different than the rotation of food that you get in the dining room all the time. For example, earlier in the week, Monday, there was chicken Alfredo with broccoli sauce. Yesterday, there was a eggplant with delicious, absolutely delicious sauce on top. I would say equal or better than Chef's. So it was really good.
Lisa is smiling. She's right now.
The menu is posted at the hostess stand, or that menu, what they're going to serve is posted at the hostess stand at least by noon. I would suggest, it's here, can you put it on quilt too? So we don't have to walk over in the cold just to see what it is. Anyway, just a suggestion.
Okay, so
but people should really consider it because it's very good.
So the comments were Monday and Thursday, the bistro is open for dinner. And Margo, thank you for your comments, and she gave a great example of how what's in the oak room, there's going to be something a little different in the bistro, and it was a really nice option and very complimentary. Thank you for that. And then there was a question whether or not we could post, and those meals are all posted by noon at the hostess stand, but can we put it on quilts? And I don't know that that's that easy to do that.
We'll work on it.
The specials are thought up in the morning, that day, so it would have to be done that day.
And you can call the bistro to ask for the specialist, so you don't have to come over.
But you get an answering machine. So
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Lisa said she's going to give it a shot. We'll try. Bob.
First of all, I second Dick O'Brien's mention of the workers here and appreciation of everything. I would like to make the second comment as everything is going up in price. And I would like to encourage everyone that's here to think about the Employee Appreciation Fund. It's something also that I've been here for 5 years now, and the total at the end of the year has seemed to plateau. And because of the increase in the economy and the appreciation of the special people that work here, we really should all consider trying to increase our donation to the Employee Appreciation Fund. And then on the same token of that, to reinforce on your side that we're really not allowed to tip these people. There was a lot of confusion earlier this year on different things that were done and people doing things for the employees, but critical that we don't put their jobs in jeopardy because we want to appreciate them in some direct way.
So I don't know if I can say it any better than Bob just said. It was very kind words about the Employee Appreciation Fund. The cost of life is going up, right? And all of you have given so generously. I think it was one of our, it wasn't our largest, so the number has plateaued a bit, but it was a very kind gift to all of our staff who are eligible for the Employee Appreciation Fund. I don't know, anyone in the back with it? Robin, what was the dollar amount for full-time people, the highest number you could get?
$975.
$975, so that's a nice Christmas check for all of your generosity, so thank you. But then Bob encouraged that with the cost of everything going up, and think of how hard our workers do their jobs every day, consider giving a little more for those folks that are eligible to get it. We're not eligible, I just want to make that clear. but we don't work as hard as our dining and our maintenance staff do, so they do a great job. Try harder. And then the other comment was kind of a recognition of something that happened earlier this year where an employee did get in trouble, and it was an unfortunate situation, but just I want to reinforce that you cannot tip people or offer gifts because it's against policy, and we just don't want to see staff get in trouble. So think about that, and if you, I know you all feel very strongly about, like say, a particular housekeeper that you have a great conversation with every few weeks, consider giving to the appreciation fund in that person's name, and I think it'll eventually trickle down to them. So thank you for your comments. Yes, Mike.
Tipping, barbershop is not an employee.
Yes, so thank you for saying that. So, so Sherry, who's the hairdresser, she is not a Foxrun employee. So you can tip Sherry. She runs her own business, and we have an arrangement where she uses our space. Yes, Jan.
Any idea of when we're gonna get a new executive chef?
Lisa wishes it was yesterday. So the question was, when are we going to get an executive chef? Unfortunately, as with a lot of our employees over this whole staffing crisis, we've reached out, we've done quite a bit of advertising for that position. We've had some people come in, some people we thought would be a good fit, and it just, we need management experience. They need to be able to run the kitchen. We need somebody who can cook, too, very talented. And I think what we're finding is, and I'm sorry, Lisa, I'm getting into too much detail here. We're finding great chefs, but the management of people side isn't going to work. And we've tried that before, and it hasn't worked out for us in the long run. Or we found somebody who could run a kitchen, but they cook like me, and nobody wants that. So we're still working on it. We're using Foxrun Resources and Morrison Resources. I know Morrison has hired for lack of a better term, a headhunter, and they've been able to get very few resumes. It's not a Foxrun thing. The restaurant industry is struggling finding qualified people, and we have a great situation where if you're a chef in a restaurant, you're working 7 days a week. You're working till midnight. The hours are terrible. Our hours are good here, but so it's one of those balance things that we're still trying. Right now, the executive chef we have is our old executive chef, Lisa, and she's working a couple jobs here, and we want that for her as well. So we're trying. Yes.
I just want to add to Margot's comment about Monday and Thursday night bistro. You can also order anything off the lunch menu if you don't want the special meal they're cooking that day, with the salad of the day or a hot dog, hamburger, whatever you want. Mondays and Thursdays.
So thank you for that, and it was a comment again on, to echo Margot's comment about the bistro on Mondays and Thursdays. It's not just a different dinner item. You can order off the lunch menu as well. Sometimes you just want a burger for dinner, and you don't want the special on the menu. Yes?
Bill, I've asked this before. How are you coming and making arrangements for parking for the people in the South End? I know you've worked on that hard.
Okay, so I believe the question is how are we going to arrangements for parking in the south, and I believe that's during construction, correct?
Yes. Well, no, even after construction, because the last thing I knew was there wasn't going to be a provision.
Oh, you're talking about the carports. Yes, the carports. So right now there's nothing in the design for carports, but that doesn't mean that's not going to happen. When we submitted our plans to the town, it was too late to re-add, but I have talked to the architect about doing something, even tying it to EV chargers, which we've seen in other communities where they at least have a covering and they have a charger there or a plug outlet, but they don't have the backing. So they did look at some different options that they showed us in their renderings, but nothing is in the existing plans, but we're going to try to do something. I just don't have a better idea for you.
And you also talked about the possibility of buying some other property nearby, and maybe the maintenance shop could move since we don't walk as well.
So the question is talking about buying property adjacent to Foxrun. We have looked into that. It hasn't happened, and I don't know if it will. I thought we were getting there, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. The maintenance shed is disappearing. We're building a new maintenance building off the dock as part of the big plans. Yes?
I had two questions, one for you, one for Allison.
Thank goodness Allison could finally
I know, I don't want Allison to be left out. Is there any chance Fox Run could put pressure on Morrison to try to decrease the waste that we create with our meal service, the little plastic everythings that we're creating. There's just a ton of it. And there's a lot of new products out there now that are plant-based, that are biodegradable, that might make us look a little more conscious of the environment. That's my first question.
Okay.
My second one for Allison is, we had discussed what people are supposed to do between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. about if you have an urgent but not critical life-threatening situation, what do you do? Because I had a problem with that, as you know. So.
Sure, you can go first.
Okay, so Beth's question was, if you have something that happens between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. before the receptionist is here, what do you do? You know, say it's not quite a PERS emergency. So what we'd like you to do is to call the desk. The desk does have an option in the answering service that transfers you to the maintenance phone. There's always someone here for maintenance, and they will get back to you. We don't want you to press your PERS for a non-emergent matter that really could take away from another emergency on campus.
But the maintenance guy told me they don't get those messages until after 8 a.m.
They have,
That's not
So,
true.
there are times when the maintenance, after 8 o'clock, second and third shift, they always carry a special maintenance phone in case they do get a direct call for that. And I believe the person was just misinformed, that he says he doesn't get voicemails. We did have an issue with the system a while back, but it did get corrected, because I believe you have to push like number 2 or something on
yes, well, when you call the Fox Run, you call the desk, and it's between the hours of 8 and 8, there's an option. I can't remember what the exact number is, but it will tell you to guide you to press that number, which will transfer you to that phone. And like Matt said, that employee was a little misinformed on the procedure.
We'll do a better job of training the folks overnight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bill,
All right, the question for me was about waste and in the kitchen and what kind of pressure we can put on Morrison. I can tell you there has been quite an improvement over, I'd say, the past few years. You may not see it. I think going back, we had styrofoam, we had the food waste alone was significant, and they have scaled back. They have improved on some of their containers. Yes, we could do better with plant-based containers, but now we get into a cost-benefit analysis. A lot of times, you may think you're doing a great job for the environment, and you're actually not. So then we have to look at the cost. But yes, I see Lisa looking. She'll talk about, hey, there's this new product, and just kind of throw it out there in conversation that we're looking at for new containers. And again, looking at that cost. But there has been improvement, and yes, we will keep pressuring them because it is important. It is important, and I think they see it too, that they try to operate on a global, kind of a global viewpoint. I can tell you, I drove to Florida 3 weeks ago, and it just blew my mind when I'm at, say, Walmart in a different state. I'm getting a plastic bag. I haven't seen a plastic bag in forever. And then you forget, because this is the life we live here, that other places, they do not do a good job. And then you see just waste containers as well. But it's not a great answer. Yes, we will keep pressuring them to do better, but I do want to acknowledge that there has been improvement.
okay.
Yes, Mike?
I'd like to point out that it's, I think, an improvement if you are adding too much food on a serving and you order a half serving,
Right.
it comes.
Yeah.
Yes. We ought to cut down on the food waste, and they're very good about that.
So thank you, and Mike's comment was, this isn't about containers, it's about food waste, and if you feel like you're wasting a lot of food because you can't finish the entire meal, you can just give me the other half, I can have the leftovers. Or, Mike said, you can order half and you'll get a smaller portion. Jan?
People can also bring their own leftover takeout container and put their food in it and take it home.
Yes, bring your own container and take food back, you have lunch for the next day.
Our bags.
Oh, our bags, oh yes, of course, the bags are right there.
Our bags, $5 in the store, and they come with a free takeout container.
Free.
Free. Everybody loves free. Who doesn't love free? Barb.
I was wondering where we are on people who are on special diets, who either are diabetic. Some of our meals are pretty hard on diabetics if you're watching your sugar count, and are the if there was a time when you could get a hold of the dietitians and they could help you, but also, are we addressing it, is Morrison addressing it as a company? Because we're going to be getting, as we get younger and younger people, we're going to be getting the vegans, we're going to be getting the vegetarians, and all the people with very specialized diets, so.
So to start off, you mentioned that you used to be able to get in touch with a dietitian. You still can. Her name is Tina Jernatowski. She's here. She's great. She has been conducting office hours monthly. The participation hasn't been the greatest, and it does turn into more of a dieting food talk as opposed to your dietary concerns. And we really want to focus that on your dietary concerns. So she is a resource for you. So you can get her extension in the directory. She's also working with, you want to start with it? Yeah, so like Lisa said, with the office hours for Tina, they weren't super successful when she was in the Acorn room. So she's actually been working with Matt Wright, our fitness coordinator, and she's been coming down. Matt has her availability posted right outside the fitness center. So she came down last month 2 different times. You don't have to be attending the fitness class to talk to her, but it's kind of a chance for you to ask your questions in sort of a group setting, and it was really well received. So we'll continue with that. And like Lisa said, she is available to you. And please, I always say, use the menu to make your own menu. We don't know your specific dietary needs, most of you. So we try to put meals together that might sound good together, but you're more than welcome to substitute on the menu anything. If you don't want the heavy scallop potatoes, feel free to switch out to another vegetable, switch out to the rice, switch out to something else that's available. You can use that menu. We have that entree salad that we've added on. We have the grilled chicken that we've added, the broiled salmon every day. So we are continuing to work towards that. You mentioned vegan. As far as I know, we don't have any vegan people yet, but as we get people, we will try to continue to increase and make accommodations. Thank you. Okay?
One last question on the food.
It took so long back there.
Now, one of the things I noticed yesterday for lunch, I'm a diabetic, let's start there. And I'm getting into the point, like Barb was saying, of counting carbs. I'm not the most skilled at it, so I'm going to say that right off. But I knew yesterday we actually got the tuna fish salad for lunch, and then alongside that with the macaroni carbs, we got potato chips.
Did you order potato chips?
No.
All right, well I'll deal with that, because you shouldn't be doing that anyway.
There's not a vegetable available, and the fruit is mostly, this is the other side of that question, is always these fruit cups and everything. In the fruit cups is watermelon, not great for me, grapes, not great, I love them, but not the best thing. If we could have fresh fruit occasionally, where there was maybe an apple available, a banana available, as opposed to these cut up fruits, which once you cut them, once you put them together, they all kind of meld together anyway. It's just the way that kind of food goes.
So the comment was just for everybody else who couldn't hear, just to make sure we're putting meals together that work well. I'll work on that. And then the fruit, if we can have whole fruits available sometimes. There's always bananas, apples available in the bistro. So they're kind of in a bowl. Sometimes the bowl gets empty because we do have quite a few people taking advantage of that. So we'll do a better job of making sure that's nice and full so you have those healthier options available. But we do have a lot of banana lovers out there.
Oh, yeah. Christmas again.
Yes.
Bill, I talked to you several months ago about the decor that was planned for all of this new stuff that is happening all over this building as well as the addition. And you mentioned that the architect had it decorated. And I'm wondering if you are going to welcome a team of volunteers from here who might influence some of that.
So the question was, will we welcome a group of volunteers who want to provide input? I don't think we're going to do that. So I know you're not going to like that answer. So our architect did refer us to an interior designer that designs senior communities. That's all they do. And what we found through talking with them is the more input we do gather input from you in a way, but if we were to create a separate committee, that committee could have 6 different tastes. And those tastes would be fly in the face of 200 other different tastes. So we're going with a professional who will design it specifically based on what they know works with the existing population and the next generation. So we've already engaged them and they've already come up with their design, and I know you have a background and you'd love to give input, but then what's going to happen, what I know will happen is then somebody else will say, well, you didn't take my input in. And now I have 200 different inputs. And
I understand your point.
Right.
I mean, that's really that's a point one would jump to, right? That's not necessarily true. But what I would ask is, have you toured with an eye, not just looking at spreadsheets, but with an eye, have you toured the Gates Circle home?
I have toured Gates Circle, yes. Canterbury Gates.
It's particularly beautiful and lush in the combination of textures and colors. I assume that was a decorator on the firm. Are we going to have the same one, I hope?
We don't have their decorator, no. We have a decorator who's designed other communities that we visited, and it's all over the East Coast. So the decorator for Canterbury Woods might have a different theme than we have here. So we're specific when we talk to our decorator that they had to incorporate the look of the Rycroft and the arts and crafts movement of Orchard Park, so that it would be particular to this geographic area. Gate Circle, and I'm saying this is more of I don't know for sure what their design was, but Gate Circle has a feel of an upscale hotel. And I don't know if an upscale hotel is the exact look we want, say, in our dining room at Fox Run. Whereas the input we've gotten over the years is we want the warm features, the stained glass, those sort of things. In fact, when the designer came in, she didn't love the stained glass we have around the doors here, but we said we need to keep that. So she did incorporate that look with some of her color choices and her design choices. It's going to be a different look, don't get me wrong. You're going to see some things that are very different than what we have now. I just ask you to have a little faith and see what it looks like. And you'll see some of it in the renderings in 2 weeks too. And she may come to that meeting. I don't know for sure. Because I did talk to Patrick just before the holidays. She may come just to answer questions, but I didn't want the focus of that meeting to turn into design. I want it to be on more structure, not just finishes. Yes?
Could I add to what Pam said, a very specific thing? We have a bistro. It doesn't feel French at all.
Oh, the bistro doesn't. I think the bistro is just French in name. It's not meant to have a French feel to it. I don't know for sure. I'm the wrong person. The bistro was named years ago. But you're right, it doesn't. It's more of a to-go, it's more of a cafe, right?
That's French.
It's more of a quick meal, burgers and pizzas.
So what if someone could take a look at that and give it more of a French feel?
So again, the bistro is going to be turned upside down. It's going to look very different inside.
Will it be called the bistro?
It'll still be called the bistro.
Maybe it has a little bit of a French feel if we're going to use that name. So maybe that's not the right name.
We could certainly look into changing the name. Yes.
Mike has a question.
Oh, hi, Peg. You know what? I apologize. Killian's head is right in the way of you. I literally did not know you were there. Thanks a lot, Killian. Yes, Peg.
I'm going to jump to the addition.
Yes.
First of all, I want to commend you for this report.
Oh, thank you.
That you gave on current projects and what you're going to do looking ahead. And I have a question about this in this report.
Okay.
And that has to do with the hiring of a company who did an independent study noting the feasibility success of the project. First of all, what were some of the questions asked, and what were some of the answers?
So I'm looking at Jill, if she could come up here for a second. So Peg's question was, she wanted to comment on the expansion and the newsletter article. My purpose of that article was, I just given an update in November on where we are in the process for the expansion, but I wanted to communicate to all of you that it has taken a lot of our time, but our focus is to operate what we have now and to improve what we have now, and that's our primary goal. And the question was about the feasibility study. So in order to get approval for a project like this, New York State has to approve it. We also need our lenders to like the plan, and it has to make sense. So feasibility study is a requirement. And we had to hire a company called Forvis Mazars who did this study. And there's a number of things that went into it, such as...
Good morning, everyone. So this is really, it's a two-part study. We've already done the first part, which is really for our Department of Financial Services at New York State. And we're going to have to redo the study, actually, for our lenders when we get to that financing portion. So it's not just a financial study, it's actually a market study as well. So a lot of it has to do with Mary Lou. So she was a very large part of this as well. So they look at our surrounding areas, they look at the zip codes, they look at who our potential prospects are to live here. Trying to think, they also look at all of the financial statements. They look at our projections for the new operations after construction. They look at the construction costs, the financing costs. They also look at the census, where we are here in Independent. They look at the health center, every level of care, and they really give us a hard time about that. We looked at 2025 specifically and came up with census numbers, and we had to talk to Allie and Trino, our admissions coordinator, to make sure that our number is realistic based on history, based on what's out there in the market.
Essentially, well, this is a lot louder than mine. Essentially, their goal is what's in the title of the report, feasibility. They want to make sure that this project is feasible. They want to see that not just, is it financially feasible? Does it make sense? Are there enough people that are going to fill it? So, and Jill's giving a lot of great details, but just from a higher level, the purpose is to make sure that this project will actually work. We're not doing all this in a vacuum because we feel like it will. They're proving that it's going to work.
I don't always come up here because I start talking too much about the detail because I love it, right? One last thing that I did want to talk about, the second part of it, they will audit us. They will look at our market, and they'll look at our deposits, and they'll verify to make sure that they're real deposits so that we can't move forward until we know for sure that we have between 50 and 70% of the new builds occupied or going to be occupied before we can actually get financing. So it's a very thorough process. It's a tough process, but it's a really good one. It's a very interesting one, and thankfully, we're looking good.
And just to cap that off, I just want to say that Fox Run's in a position where not only do they say it's feasible, but they're almost saying you have to do this because you're in such a good position. What's happened this year has been remarkable. We ended the year, our record was 56. We have 65 people who gave us 10% deposits this year. 65. Our goal was 36. And I remember thinking when we started this process, we have 70 or 80 people who are on our wait list. We now have 118 people who have given us significant deposits, anywhere from $25,000 to $60,000 to come to be next in line to live here. So will we be able to convert those to the 50 or 60% of, so we're building 71 new units. We need to prove to the DFS that right off the bat that we have enough deposits for 36 of them. And then we do financing 70% of that 71. So that's 50 people. And if we have those deposits, then we can move forward. So we do have enough backlog that this really makes sense. Did that answer your question, Peg?
Yeah, is there any, where do people say 10, 15 years, and it's not something we can really answer, where do they want to live? And I know we've started this in-home
The home care? Right, right.
But is that question asked?
So, and that's more of an unknown. So Peg's point was, what does it look like in 10 to 15 years? Jill gave, thank you, Jill, for a great example on the detail that the feasibility study is looking at. Thank you, Alana. That was for me. So part of that question is they're looking more on what's happening right now, if it makes sense going forward. We also had to do a forward-looking actuarial study to make sure that we have the, not only the numbers of people that are depositing, but the market, they do market studies to see if there's interest in this type of model. And they look at how many people are income qualified in our zip code area. So we looked at, we pinpointed, we have 5 zip codes that surround Fox Run that are primaries, but then we've extended out. And this is a point where it's a little bit of guesswork, right? We don't have a crystal ball, so they say you need, this is not real numbers, but it's more hypothetical, but we need 1,500 people in this range to know that this will be successful. And the market studies have showed we have 5,000 or 6,000. So the popularity of the model and the name of Fox Run has grown so much that they have reached out to see who's interested. It doesn't mean they're moving in 10 or 15 years. We hope they will. But we kind of went through the same thing when all of you moved in. We didn't know you were going to be here 10 years ago either.
Bill?
Yes, Alona.
I just want to second Peg's comment on the newsletter. I thought it was fantastic for someone like me who doesn't really know all of this stuff, but you know what I mean, the technical things. I thought it was excellent, well written, and I applaud you for that, and of course I applaud you for having an open forum where everybody can say what they want. May not be what they want to hear, but I appreciate, and I'm sure you all do, on a day like today.
Well, thank you, Alona. Thank you. So now I'll give you a second. So we feel like we do a nice job of being transparent, communicating, but you may not feel that way because what we talk about in the back office over and over again, we feel like we're constantly current and relevant, but you may not hear all of it. So I encourage all of you to keep asking questions, to keep pressuring us, to say, rather than say, boy, Bill's not telling us anything at dinner, just let somebody know and we'll do a better job of having another one of these or doing another newsletter. I was caught off guard about a year ago when we sent out a survey. I heard some insiders tell me that you must be hiding something, you're not telling us everything. And that just tells me I just need to do more. I feel like I am, but the perception is you're not hearing all of it. So we need to communicate more. And once we get going and once we get approvals, we're gonna make a regular, I don't know what it looks like yet, but we're gonna do more of this kind of thing. Even if it's a 15-minute update with free coffee, where we just say, here's what's happening, here's what the next 3 weeks looks like. So I don't know what it's gonna look like. It could be in paper, but I kind of like the in-person thing where you can ask questions too. Sue.
What's the status of Fox Woods?
So I wish I could give you a better answer. Sue's question is, what's the status of Fox Woods? Fox Woods is the name of our new joint venture with Canterbury Woods. Fox Run, Canterbury Woods, Fox Woods. We applied for a license and we expected to get approval this summer. I was thinking fall the latest. And Rob Wallace, the CEO of Canterbury Woods, sent an email in November to the state to ask for an update, and they never responded. So we're gonna keep pressuring them. We don't know. I thought it would have happened already soon. But once we get approval, then we have to look at staffing and look at the HR stuff and kind of get it going from there. But right now, it's still in limbo, waiting for the state to approve.
You might just explain to some people what Fox Woods is.
So Fox Woods is thank you. And see, this is a great example where I think you all know what's in my head, but you don't.
George is new.
Never even heard of it.
George, well, I've talked about Fox. I've talked about this for probably a year and a half now. There's a joint venture we're doing with Canterbury Woods where we're creating a home care agency to serve only Canterbury Woods and Fox Run. So there's been a moratorium on home care licenses in the state because there's too many bad players out there. But as a CCRC, we're allowed to get one that only serves our population. And in fact, the state when we submit our application, they said, we want this to really be successful because we want to weed out some of the bad players. Right now, there's probably a half dozen different agencies that work with folks in independent living. There's people who are using private duty companions, and it's kind of all over the place. So we're hoping to have a stable option for just Fox Run and Canterbury Woods. And we think we'll be able to staff it because there's kind of a draw. You know, you're not, home care workers can go be in Lockport today, this morning, and be in Jamestown this afternoon. And if we keep it to just, you only come to this campus full-time, I think we're gonna have a draw for people who are gonna wanna work as an aide. We're not staffing it with nurses yet, it's really just gonna be companion services and light duty, kind of what many of you already use now, but it'll be a more stable environment. If somebody calls off last minute, we should be able to backfill it with somebody else. And again, it's just for Gate Circle downtown, Canterbury Woods, Williamsville, and Fox Run. Yes?
How many people need that service now?
That's a great question. So the question is, how many people need that service now? So when Rob approached me and said, hey, I'm gonna get a license, but I think it'd be better if we use economies of scale and hit our 2 campuses, do you have a need? And I said, absolutely. And at that time, we probably had 30 people using companions. It could be even more. And that's just this building. And it doesn't mean you can't use your existing companions. No, you can use whoever you want. We just want to provide an option. Sometimes we've suggested an agency and it didn't work out. So then we suggest another agency and that didn't work out. So we're hoping, again, to create stability. But if I had to guess right now, I mean, I would say 30 plus are using companions. Janice?
Are you gonna build it from the ground up, or are you gonna consider buying out an agency?
No, we're not buying out an agency. The question is Foxwoods going to be built from the ground up, or are we acquiring another agency? We're getting our own license and we're starting from scratch.
Well, you'd buy them, you wouldn't use them, you'd actually bring everything.
The way it was structured in our application is we're starting our own business. And I'm sure we'll get some of their employees because we're kind of a draw. Yes, Jan?
Will the rate of compensation be universal through this Foxwoods?
So the question is, will the rate of constipation? Happy New Year, everyone. Depends what's in the bistro. I don't know. The rate of compensation will be universal. Yes, it'll be standard pay. I don't want to say it'll be based on experience. I would imagine, but I don't know. The operational logistics are being worked out on the Canterbury side. So because they're bigger, they have a larger ownership group. They're 60%, we're 40%. And they have a managing board, and they with 5 people, and 3 are employed at Canterbury Woods, and 2 are here, and the 2 are myself and our CFO. Okay. Rob, their CEO is one, their CFO is another, and I don't know who it might be their administrators, the third person. So it's structured so that they have 60% of the cost, 60% of the revenue, but because this was their idea, they're initiating all that ramp up stuff with pay scale and all that.
Yeah, one more thing.
Okay.
When Fox Run started, we made I'm sure there were feasibility studies at that time. And then the housing crisis hit.
And the recession.
And the recession afterwards. And having gone through all of that, are you prepared if something like that happens again?
That's a great question. So the question was, a feasibility study was done back before Fox Run opened, and it was shown to be successful, but then we had we had recession and housing crisis, and it set us back. So have we considered that? Yes, we have, because of what we went through. First of all, back then, CCRCs were popping up all over the country, and there wasn't a focus on, it was almost like, submit this study, nobody looks at it, go ahead and start building. It's not like that anymore, because there have been failures.
Yes.
And the state is, the reason there's such a delay in us getting approval is because of these failures, the state's looking at it with fine-tooth comb. You can't predict when the next recession or housing crisis is going to come.
Or whatever other
But what we've done when we looked at this feasibility, as we were talking with Peg before, is we've baked in some crazy things that could happen. Like, for example, we fill up, but the existing campus falls off down to, say, 70%. What is that gonna look like? Can we sustain that? What if we go over by $1 million in some of our initial operating or building costs? Can we sustain that? And they put in these barriers that said, what does it look like if those failures hit? And we're still able to keep moving forward. So are we insulated from everything? We're not, but we do the best we can with the information we have, and I feel like we still have a strong outlook, even if something bad happens.
You've been there, done that.
We've been, yeah, I've lost some hair over that. Bob?
Two questions. One's on safety and the other one is on observations of living here for 5 years.
Okay.
Number one, the living here. Besides everything that the management does here, to me, and to people I know here, the most important thing is the community of us living together. Okay? And it's a community of a very broad spectrum of people, whether it be a lower income, blue collar like myself, or very successful people. And the ability of us to live together and to support each other, because we all have different types of support. So I worry about that, is the bottom line, for this to go forward, because obviously what you're going to be building are going to be things that are completely out of my financial spectrum, okay? So I'm concerned about that. The second thing is a safety issue. And being an electrician in construction, you've heard me say this a dozen times, it's the little things that bite you in the ass. It's not the things you see, it's the ones you don't see. And nobody can see everything. I know you're planning for it, but variables are variables.
Right.
One of the things that I'm concerned about, and I've heard this before, is the clearing of the snow at the smaller exits of the building. It takes days for heavy snow. I happened to see during this last snow game, there was this beautiful, I love machines, on tracks with a snowblower in front of it that could literally move that heavy snow. And they cleared complete parking lots. And they could do it without damaging everything. I think it's something that we should look into leasing, having available, do something. Because the people we hired to do the roads are not set up to do the sidewalks in these areas. The little snow machine we have, I saw it bumping up against that heavy snow, it did nothing. It was fruitless. The second thing that I'm concerned about, and this is a very rare situation, and I don't believe you or anyone else in real management has seen this, but when you test the generators and they fail, the halls in this place have no windows. Anybody notice that lately? And there is no emergency lighting. We absolutely need emergency lighting because of the people that are here, which I know you know this, when the room goes dark, they literally fall down. They don't have to walk, they don't have to trip, they just fall down. My wife is one of them, okay, because she can't feel her legs. And I think that has to be a specific part of whatever you're putting into your specs. And the specs are the nitty-gritty of whatever you're going to build. And it was lacking in the last, and we need it now because of these potential failures. The more machines you have, the more machines that can fail, and the more machines that do fail. And I like those things.
So, Bob said a number of great comments, and again, I wish I should give him the mic because to repeat.
I got a big mouth.
No, you don't, and those are all really great points and very well said too. First of all, I can't believe you've only been here 5 years. I feel like you're a pioneer.
Because my mother was here.
That's right. So, your first point. What was your first point again?
First point was the community.
So the community, and that's, I want to start there because that is a great point. Because when we first talked about let's expand, I can honestly tell you my biggest fear was not the costs or filling up, it's what the community's gonna look like. Because we're going to be infusing, we're not gonna have 100 people at once, but there's gonna be months where there's 5 new move-ins, and then the following month, there's 4 new move-ins, and it's gonna look very different. And I talked to my counterpart at a community downstate who just finished one of these, and he said that was the trickiest part, bringing in these groups of people. Because what's gonna happen is, think about, I think about the pioneers when they all moved in. They congregated together and they became a close-knit group because they all moved in together. We're gonna see that with this new wing. So, but what I don't want is that to be, that's a group that doesn't mingle with the rest of you. So the culture is a fear of mine, and I want it to blend, because what we have is special. And there's a reason why Fox Run is as popular as it is, it's the culture. So we're gonna be relying on a lot of you to interact with those folks, that you can welcome them and bring them into your family, your Fox Run family. So, but that's a great point, and I'm gonna do the best I can, and Allison as well, to create an environment where we kind of force you all together and make it a bigger version of what we have now versus a new clique. You know, we don't want cliques. We like what we have here now. As for safety, those are great points, Bob. The snowfall, I agree with you completely. When we do those smaller doors that everybody uses last, because we have a protocol how we have to when we get to it. Matt does bring in not just the crew that we pay, he'll bring in the guy with a front loader or other resources to try to clear that snow, especially in a big storm. I really do like your idea that I've seen those in Orchard Park. I've seen them in East Aurora too, and it's something I'm gonna have Matt look into.
I've already looked into it.
Yes.
And Bob, one of the reasons why we don't have one of the big skidsters with the snow blowers is the size and the width of the wheelbase. If you notice, all the sidewalks are no more than 42 inches wide. All the wheelbases are 48 inches wide, which means all the tires would be going into the mud. We've already tried it before. That's why I'm kind of limited as far as the snow blowers that we have right now. I am looking into different equipment, and also I've already had conversations with our plowing contractor for the next year in regards to when the construction starts, of how we're going to be removing snow. So I'm already trying to plan ahead for next year already as far as snow removal is concerned. But the snow blowers, yes, some of the equipment that we have now, it cannot handle 3 feet of snow after 3 days. But unfortunately, both storms that we had, we were limited of when we can start doing the secondary entrances, or the exits, I should say. And unfortunately, when you get 2 to 3 foot of snow and the first 5 inches are all slush, you know, my hands are kind of tied, and that's when I decided to make the call to call up the other resources for smaller excavators and skidsters to help with that after the storm has passed. But there's not much I can do during a 2-day storm when you have lake effect snow constantly, and the only thing that we're trying to work on is just roads and emergency access. Not to mention to get our employees in and out of here so they can still work.
So some of those storms are outliers, but yeah, I would think, I mean, let's keep looking to see if there's even something with a smaller base, because it would be, I mean, it'd be so much faster.
Smaller tractors.
Right.
With heavier duty traction and the smaller bases.
We'll keep looking, and then your last point is about safety and especially with the new building and having emergency lighting, and I'll bring that, I don't have an answer for you now, but I'll bring that to the construction group going forward. Thank you for your comments. Yes?
I just want to say, I love to see Matt on the big loader. That's one of the really, the reason for that is he stepped into the job. It was needed and he did the job. And guess who came down, who was the first person here during that storm when I called the switch to see what was going on outside? Where is she? You're second in command. I always have trouble with names.
Jill?
Long red hair.
No.
Melissa?
Pamela.
No.
It wasn't Pamela.
I'm sorry. I'll go through my, I'm still new in my name.
Melissa, my assistant?
Yes.
Yes. She was
Melissa
here.
came in. Melissa normally takes 20 minutes. It took her 40, but she was there to open up, and when I came down and I saw she was there, she was answering calls all over the place for people and telling people, we'll get your food out there, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do that. That was terrific.
I appreciate that, and I will pass it along. Melissa's off today. So when we have these storms, the group of directors, we all start messaging who's going to make it in. Usually Matt's the one that always makes it here first. But it's nice to have a point person that you all can see, because you may not see Matt. You did see him in the front loader, but you may not see Lisa in the kitchen cooking or Matt shoveling. But it is nice to have a point person like a Melissa here, and before her was Wendy, who would kind of be, they answer the phones, they direct, but they keep you informed to give you peace of mind. So thank you for that comment. Dr. Ullman.
I think Matt and Killian tried to get the golf and classical movement channels on before, and I see them on the new list. Is that right?
So your question is about new channels on a new list?
Yeah.
I don't think I can answer that one. Yes, we are getting a new list of channels.
I know, it's at the top.
Oh, it's at the top. Okay, and what channels were they?
It's the classical movies.
Oh, the Turner Classical Movie Network, yes. Which they said they were getting rid of, and I think all of you must have called it once, because now it's back. And Golf Channel.
It'll be back on January 22nd, I think.
January 22nd. Thank you, Kelly. Mike.
On the emergency lighting thing, a hint from an old sailor. Every table in my bedroom has a flashlight on it that works. Emergency lighting.
Emergency lighting, right. Built-in emergency, and your phones have lights too.
Yeah.
I can't believe how often I use my phone as a flashlight. Yes, Alona.
I just want to comment on one important thing in my mind. You're doing a fantastic job up there speaking. There's that lady that's sitting next to you. Since she's been on board, anytime I comment and email her on anything, she gets back to me almost immediately with a solution or another question to follow up. And I think that's fantastic that you have two people, like the two of you, within an email away. When you see my name, I'm sure you say, oh my God.
We do. There might be an eye roll there too.
But guess what? I always get answers, so I have to compliment her up there as well as you, Bill, for taking care, and all the staff. I have never had issues with any of the staff here.
Thank you, Alona. I've always said I'm very lucky. I won the career lottery. I'm very lucky to work with the team that I do. I never thought it could get better, and then we found Allison, and it has gotten better.
And all, every department. We are so lucky. Hallelujah, Fox Run. Thank you.
Yes.
Last question, hopefully. I had another resident come up to me and say, where are we going to have temporary shelving for the library while it's, and she suggested the North Lounge, but, and the other comment she made was, I can't fathom not being able to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go and get a book. So, I mean, people are feeling devastated about the library, and I'm going to put a personal note in. Of all the people I have talked to, I haven't found anybody but you that is happy with having the card room and the library together.
So Ann's comment with many comments about the library. I'm very excited about, first of all, the new library, and when you're going to see a rendering of it, and it's going to look beautiful. We have to pay for those renderings, and I thought, who would want a rendering in a library? But they did it, and it looked amazing, so we do have one, and I think you're really going to like it. And I don't necessarily see the card room, the activity that we have in the card room now, I think this library/card room will be able to sustain it, but there's going to be seating outside of that as well. So I think folks who are going to be playing games or cards aren't going to be necessarily using the library. They'll be using a lot of new space that we have. The library will just have tables and it'll be available to it. So as for the temporary location of the books, we're still working that out. We don't have one yet because we're still a little ways away from demolition. But some of the ideas we had was assisted living, right where the fish tank is. That whole area where the couch is, we can put up shelves, we can remove the couch and put temporary shelving in the middle of the floor. Because we have to find space, and we want to be careful that we're not constantly moving. So for example, we looked at things like the conference room that is next to Pamela. We could use that for books, but we'll have it there for 2 months and then we're gonna demo that and have to move it again. So we wanna find one location if we can. And that's why the only areas that aren't going to be touched are like assisted living. North Lounge isn't a great idea because it's used for so many other things. And there's not necessarily the space there for it. But we're gonna keep looking, and we may have to spread it out between different areas. But we're gonna make sure that we come to you, that if we have to break it up into 2 or 3 spots, you can help us determine what makes the most sense and where to put it. And we'll be able to get boxes and everything to pack those up to make it easier. But we're gonna stay with the library committee to give us guidance on how to move it and what to put where, once we have that space identified.
Is that a threat or a promise?
It's a promise. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, we will do this again at some point, but thank you for your patience and your questions and your time. And if you have anything else after this, don't hesitate to come and ask us or shoot us an email. Allison's a great resource for all of your concerns and complaints. All right, have a nice weekend. Go Phils.